Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. It is Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss, Pauly Howard with you. We're live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino in this hour. Bottom of it anyway. Bruce Marshall's going to join the program. His best bets for the Final Four and the Crown as well. In 15 minutes, we'll look at tonight's NBA card with some player props. Paul Stone joined us earlier. He was at an Italian place in Mesa, Arizona, to give out his best bets. And he likes Houston and the under against Duke. And we were talking about how people are sleeping on like some pizza spots that are west of, like New York City. Vegas has turned into a great pizza spot. Pizzeria Bianco in Phoenix is outstanding. L.A. Joneser on X. He won. He was one of the winners of Circa Survivor a couple years ago. How about this? He tweeted us, as you can do, at VSiN Live, at Mitch Moss Radio, at Pauly Howard. I chase pizza all over the world. If you like Chicago tavern style, Pizza Amici is by far the best. Dave Portnoy just gave it the highest tavern style pizza rating in the world. And so I asked him where it's at because tavern style pizza is like my favorite. I love it. I can have it 4 times a week. Chicago proper, best pizza he's ever had, but that's his style. That's what I like. The thick crust, get it out of here. Mm-hmm. Never been a fan.
All right. Fair.
But that tavern style or even like the cracker thin crust, now we're talking.
Well, yeah. What we did when we went back to the East Coast, though, that was so strong.
That was great.
Because I don't think anything's better than John's in New York. And then we did the New Haven run with Pepe's.
That was so good.
Pepe's. What's the
Sally's
and
what are we? Yeah, Frank Pepe, Sally's, and there was another one.
Anyways, yeah, we're great.
People will definitely know right now listening on the East Coast. We hit the 3 major ones.
Yeah.
And they were all
modern.
There you go, modern. Yeah.
We got the bomb.
Good recall. There you go. You pulled it out.
One, and then we pulled it out.
Yep.
It was great. So is this correlated, Duke and over, Houston and under? Because I think I agree with Paul Stone. Houston has to muck it up and make it ugly if they're going to win this game. And it goes back to how they're going to call it with the officiating as well. And they've let stuff go for the entire season in this tournament.
Yep.
But to have the number one defense, what's realistic for slowing Duke down? That's the other thing. Because you're going against a dangerous offense, top 5 offense, and the numbers are also historic what Duke has done offensively and how good they are. So I got to see what Houston's also going to do. Because here's the knock against Houston. All 4 opponents in the tournament have attempted at least 23s. So Duke's going to get them up. And Tennessee got good looks. They just weren't even close, but Duke's a different animal. So if they're going to get those good looks from 3, Houston also can't get to the free throw line, then maybe it could be a long day for the Cougars as well.
I agree with you, Paul. I think Duke's going to get open looks, and I don't think they're going to miss.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they'll probably shoot like 37, 38, 40% in the game. Because if they're going to get the same looks that Tennessee did,
they were good looks.
They have too many guys that are just too consistent, and they're better than Tennessee.
Right. Gonzaga scored on them too.
Yeah.
Which I was surprised by that, but Gonzaga was great, but Gonzaga got theirs. Houston was great offense. The comeback is this is the best offensive team that Sampson's had.
Well, don't Houston, you like, so the number's now up to 137. So then you're going to
I know. I talked to a lot of people who love the over.
They love the over in this game. Yeah, it keeps going up. So the market tells you you'd be fighting the market right now because it's now touching 137. Mm-hmm. But I'm with you. Like if Houston, like deep down inside, drawing this up, getting ready for the whole week, they have to know that their best way to win this game is to make it just their style of basketball game and win it 62-58 if possible.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that help them too. One of the oldest teams in the country. You have the experience. You have the pain of last year. You also had the tussle against Purdue, which was essentially a road game, and you won an ugly game there. Cryer didn't do much. And then you also have the benefit of being close to your backyard, which can also help you. So, but this just might be an all-time great team. And Duke takes them out. And then again, we're talking Monday about more favorites.
Right.
Like, are we going to get a dog to win a game here? You know, we talked about this earlier. Only once in the last 30 years have both dogs won in the semifinals, thanks to Chris Felica. And we've had 14 straight favorites win a game in the tournament.
Yeah. Now, this is easier said than done, but Steve Makinen shared this at vsin.com, his Final Four analytics report and historical numbers. In this round, outright winning teams own a record of 37-7-2 ATS, 84% since 2001. Although San Diego State did beat FAU 2003 without covering. Remember, they won it at the buzzer. So they did not cover that game. Again, that's like going in the NFL playoffs. All you got to do, just pick the winner. They're going to cover. Well, yeah, okay, no kidding. But I don't know who's going to win the game. If you told me right now, you absolutely know in concrete that the team's going to be winning this game is going to be Florida, fine. I'll lay 2.5, no problem. Not even think about it twice. So Final Four favorites of 5 points or more, 21-3 straight up, 15-8-1 Pauly. That's 65% last 25 years, and that's where Duke qualifies here, laying the 5.5.
I mentioned this all week, too, because they give up 56 points per game, number one in the country. SIUE, 71 a game, held them to 40.
Yeah.
Gonzaga, 86 a game, held them to 76. Purdue, 77 a game, held them to 60. Tennessee, 74 a game, held them to 60. Embarrassed them in the first half.
Yeah, I'd still say that 70. Gonzaga scored how many?
76.
Yeah,
they were awesome in that game.
That's still impressive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that doesn't take into account tempo, though, too. And Gonzaga gets up and goes. But
all right, let's update the MLB scoreboard here. The A's now, top of the fourth in Colorado. It was snowing earlier. It looks like that has subsided. Winds are going to be blowing out like 17 miles an hour today during this game. It's 2-1 A's as they play now in the fourth. They have 5 hits in this game. And currently at DraftKings, they are minus 175 to win the game outright. And the total is now 8.5. Again, this total was 9.5 to begin. They each scored a run in the first inning, and it got bumped. It came down to 8.5, then back to 9.5. And now they've settled down here recently. Mike Palm, VP here at Circuit, told me earlier today, we were talking about this total. He said that he's been riding this Rockies' first 5 streak, like with the pitching.
Yeah.
The pitching's been so good, and the hitting really has done nothing.
Yes.
So we'll see. Plenty of time to go here in the 5th inning with that one. And the Yankees just scored another run. They lead 4-0, top of the fourth. It looks like their outstanding rookie Dominguez with a single to get a run across, and he is now batting .318. He's 2 for 2 so far in this game today.
Not going well for Keller.
And the Yankees have a couple of stolen bases, by the way.
Yeah, oh, that's good.
So that was pretty much it, right? They haven't done anything on the bases until today for the most part. Rice has a steal. Aaron Judge with a stolen base in this game.
He stole one in the last game, too. So you have Pittsburgh's got 21. The Padres coming in today had 16. Mm-hmm. And then you look at the bottom, nothing for the A's, Cleveland, Houston with only 3, and then a bunch of teams with 4 and some with 5. A couple teams are running at will and other teams aren't running at all. And I don't like anything about, other than Skeens, I don't like anything about this Pirates team.
Well, you really can't.
This is, again, with the offense, you blew it against Miami. I don't trust the bullpen. And the Yankees might rough them up here. And maybe more runs coming here in the 3rd. Yeah,
here's one. How these numbers move so quickly in April when a guy gets off to a hot start, like maybe some of these awards. This Christian Campbell for the Red Sox. Mm-hmm. Going into today's action, .417 average, 10 hits already on the year and 24 bats, 2 home runs, and 4 doubles overall. Today, another hit, 3 runs scored, and a stolen base. This is one market that I have not really tracked over the years, but his number has already plummeted down to where it's almost unbettable. One of the favorites there to win it in the American League.
They were 20-1 to score the most runs today.
Oh, they got 13 right now.
Yep.
So they are easily the leaders in the clubhouse of that one. This A's Rockies total is still 8.5 with the winds blowing in. You want to make a live bet under? Starting pitching's been good again. They're not hitting really anything here. That seems to be like super hard or anything. And Seattle and San Francisco, they are tied at 1 apiece, bottom of the 2nd. Runners right now with first and second for the Giants. And we told you about Verlander's K-prop against the Mariners. Only 1 strikeout so far through 2 innings. So when he's at 30 pitches, so that's not looking good so far.
Okay.
Here's the K-prop that I did bet a little bit later on tonight. It's the Diamondbacks against the Nationals. It's Brandon Pfaadt. Over 5.5. I bet him at even money, put it up at the VSiN picks page at VSiN.com earlier today. It's a fade of Washington. And Pfaadt was a guy that I was told in the offseason, watch out for him. He's going to have a breakout year. starters Ks against Washington so far this year early on. Wheeler had 8. Luzardo had 11. Nola had 8. Barrios, after getting rocked on opening day, came back and he had 8. So 5.5 even money in a guy who I like to strike out batters anyway, and their K rate's higher than 30%. Okay, that was worth it to me. If you can find even money, maybe even a little bit minus, I think that's probably worth a bet.
All right. The Yankees laying 4.5 in play as well.
Ooh.
It's 4-0.
Max Fried on the
bottom
bottom
of the 30. Yes.
You know what? Let me get his pitch count here.
I can't. Yankees 22 home runs in the record, 6 games. Pirates 19 runs on the season.
Jeez.
Oh man.
Fried is at 27 pitches through 2 innings. All right. Well, I guess a live bet right now. I'm intrigued by the A's and the Rockies going under 8.5. Never thought I would say that about a game at Coors. But with the win, and by the way, Cardinals making this interesting against the Red Sox. They now have plated 2 runs here since we've been talking in the 9th. I say interesting. They're down 13-8, but they have runners on first and second with 1 out, and your guy Nolan Arenado's at the plate right now.
Been good this year. Red Sox thought they had him.
3-run shot would make it interesting.
Yeah, Devers had a hit, so he had an RBI single. So finally, he got something going. Put your skills to the test in Hoops and Horses Pick'em Challenge. Brought to you by our friends at First Bet. Sign up for free play at vsin.com/hoops and horses. Make your picks for Saturday's marquee horse races and basketball matchups. Top picks get a First Bet voucher you can use to bet the upcoming races, including the Derby from the hardwood to the home stretch. Play now. vsin.com/hoops and horses.
Up next, a bunch of players are sizzling with their props over the last 7 games. Find out who next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
As soon as I said something, by the way, Rockies get a runner on. RBI double. They tied up at 2 apiece. The total moves to 9.5 in that game against the A's. And in the other game, look at this now. 13-9 Red Sox. Only 1 out. So the Cardinals got another run across. They had to go to the pen and bring in Chapman now. The Cardinals are 22-1 on the run line. You want to grab 3.5 runs with them? I
don't mind that. That's a bet. That's a better bet, I think.
Yeah.
Push another one across and had to make this interesting for no reason.
Wow, this is
this game's crazy.
If this happens live during our show, this is going to be the definition for those people new to the program. It would be whiskey and a revolver. What you need to bet baseball, because the Red Sox. Our producer Luke has Red Sox to win the game today. He said this one would be worse than. He had the Florida-UConn game under 151.5. Mm-hmm. This one would be worse than that, I think.
Yep.
All right, what are you hearing tonight about guys who might be in or out for some of these NBA games?
Curry and Butler are questionable. It sounds like Denver's playing everybody. They're now the favorites at most books. Doesn't look like Davis is going to go 5-point move against Dallas with the Clippers. LeBron's going to go. So still early, but that's some of your big news about who's in, who's out here. And again, a ton of games, most of them with double-digit favorites. The one game, which could be bananas, which is a smaller spread, Bulls open 4 up to 6, total 240 down to 235 against Portland. But Avdija, what he's doing for Portland, now his points are 24.5, and the rebounds are 9.5 though now. But listen to what he's done: 26-15, 32-15, 33-7, 24-9. 17-10, 17-11, 36-8, 31-16. He's been unbelievable for Portland. And then Sharp had the big game as well.
I like him a lot.
Ate him up. So this is, I don't necessarily agree with I would take the over here, but down to 235 in this game. And you've been all over it on what Giddey's done and what White have done. And this Bull team is fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm going to be betting Kobe White tonight over 31.5 PRA. He's 6-1 over that in his last 7, and some of these games he's actually gone over his points, rebounds, and assists with only his points. I think Giddey tonight's a little bit too high. I'm not going to get involved there. And his points number, by the way, is 19.5. I can't bet that. So no thank you on that one. But Kobe White, I think, would be the guy in that game. And also Derek White and his PRA prop tonight for the Celtics. Look, they're laying a gigantic number tonight against the Suns. They just went to Phoenix last couple of weeks, blew their doors off. I would expect kind of the same thing tonight. Derek White is, well, first of all, with his points, it's 14.5 tonight. He is 48-24 over that on the year. 6 straight games over 4.5 assists, and 6-1 over 23.5 PRA last 7 games. I like Derek White, but I've been consistently betting him throughout the entire year. So I like that as a G-Bank bet. And I also like Kobe White tonight.
All right. Best Bets brought to you by G-Bank, official bank of VEASAN. Thank you to Grimes last night to get us over. Up in the ante with a $750 bonus. New G-Bank Visa Signature Card customers and new customers who spend $1,000 on eligible purchases within 90 days from account opening get a $250 bonus. And if you spend $50,000 on gaming and sports app loads within the 30 days of account opening, you get another $500 bonus. Potentially a $750 bonus. Apply now. VEASAN.com/G-Bank. VEASAN.com/G-Bank, subject to credit approval.
What do you think of a $2 and change move on Draymond Green to win Defensive Player of the Year last night? After he was credited with the block at the end of the game.
Okay, and I don't get it. I don't agree with it.
They were up by 6 points,
nonsense.
So what, they were going to win by 5 without that?
Yeah.
And then Reggie Miller loses his mind. And again, this tells you you're automatically disqualified when a guy like Reggie Miller says he guards 1 through 5, and the context there is like it's a badge of honor for Green to wear. Like every night he goes out, when they play Memphis, he's going to slow down Morant and he's going to take Bane and JJJ. No, it's a total farce. It's a reckless comment to make, and it's a total falsehood. He does not guard 1 through 5 like they think he does. Now, in modern basketball, there are switches. There's a lot of action going on. So technically, you could say everybody guards 1 through 5.
And then what they did last night? They surprised the Lakers by doing that.
Sure.
And switch. And that's what Redick talked about after the game, too, and how they messed it up. Okay, yeah.
Sure. And what do you think of Reggie Miller, by the way, as a broadcaster?
Well, no good.
I'll give you another one. So, and he said this on the air yesterday, and he couldn't wait to take it to Twitter. What do you think about this Chris Bermanism? Kendrick, he should be working at Perkins. With a tweet immediately during the game, that's my vote for Defensive Player of the Year. I did not realize this. I heard JBT say this a couple of weeks ago. Did you realize that Kendrick Perkins has never voted for Nikola Jokic to win the MVP?
I guess I believe it after what happened a couple of years ago. I don't understand it. He doesn't. That's based on looks, too.
Yeah, it is.
He doesn't look the part. I actually agree with Jay Will, what he said the other day. If Curry or LeBron had a 60, 11, and 11 game, it would have been talk for 2 weeks straight.
No question.
But it's just the discussion. The discussion was the other day, is he even a top 20 player all time? I mean, come on.
So
watch the games.
It's
unbelievable.
Right. If a guy has that platform and he's going to sit there and tell you that that's going to be his Defensive Player of the Year, but also he has never voted for Joker in the last 4 or 5 years to win the MVP. Like, how can I take that guy seriously? How does he have a vote? Not one time did you vote Joker MVP. That's a total disgrace.
No. I still think you're okay. And I think
I'm okay too.
I think the Dort stuff's real. And we still got a lot of basketball left. And maybe this could backfire on him too.
Sure. And by the way, it's Defensive Player of the Year.
Sure.
It was a nice moment at the end of the game. Other than that, like, what did he do throughout the entire game? I thought Kuminga was sensational last night.
He was, yeah.
And if Kuminga plays like that, this whole conversation about who's the second best team in the Western Conference, well, if he plays like that, there's my new nominee. Because you know that Curry's probably going to get his against anybody. Like Pods, though, he's not going to do that every game. I mean, that kid was unconscious last night.
I know.
So that was a great contribution. Moody had his moments, and you know that Butler's going to be really, really good. But if they can do that with Kuminga off the bench, ooh, man, they are going to be cooking with some Crisco at that point. And I thought that the Lakers, to me, they're going to have all 3 guys go off in every game.
I don't think the defense is that bad. I think it was a bit of a fluke, but certainly not as good as the numbers said they were, with the number 1 defense since January on, when they had that stretch when teams were just missing wide open threes. But, Kerr's an excellent coach. They talked about they were surprised by the switches. They did they made some mistakes. Luka was terrible.
Awful.
He owned it after the game. I give him credit. Couldn't make a 3, was 6 of 17. Didn't blame the injury. He shouldn't. You're right. It's the left elbow. It's not the shooting elbow. But I know at times they can dazzle you and they look great. Sure. But they have a lot of offensive firepower. But the big if is what we're going to see what they are defensively. And I still don't know because the numbers are funky. And I probably when you get in the playoffs, though, and you're taking on these elite teams, this pack it in, pray for them to miss. Might work against Denver, but against these other teams, it's not going to work.
I mean, you had to love what Hachimura did last night.
Yes.
And I've loved that kid since Gonzaga. So I've been really, really patient with him. I also don't think that you're going to get close to 24 every game. But let's say that he's going to be a solid contributor. Along with that, I think you're going to have LeBron, Reeves, and I totally believe in Reeves. Like every game, he's going to do something good. And Luka, all three of those guys will have to have good games. Because I'm watching the bench play last night again, and I'm like, oh boy, this is thin. I mean, super thin at this point. And there's not much there. So when they run into some of these, better teams a little bit deeper.
Well, you got to be physical and rough up Curry too. But it also helps that he has Butler, and that's just, I know LeBron also talked about this after the game, how they make great decisions. It seems everything works out for them. And when they need that key player, they go out and get him.
I'm glad you brought that up. Did you think that Golden State got a friendly whistle last night?
A little bit.
I thought Curry got the benefit of the doubt on several calls. Who knows? But also, how many guys were fouled taking a three in that game? It felt like every other possession. So what else do you like tonight? Anything jump out?
I love Denver if they're going to play people, and I think they're going to play people. Now, Kerr said we're going to play our guys, even though Butler and Curry are questionable. But Denver spanked them the last time, and they were without Joker, and I don't think Murray played in that game either. Gordon was great. So Denver laying 1.5 on the road and trying to get this 3 seed. I think it's a bad matchup for the Warriors, and I like Denver. And I think this Portland-Chicago game could be crazy.
Yeah, 5-point move on the total.
And over 235, yes. In that one. But some of these, I mean, look at these 17, 14, 12, 10.5, 13. Look at these point spreads tonight.
Oh, I agree.
11.5. Detroit should punish Toronto. They should. From 9 up to 11.5. Detroit should be able to beat Toronto by 22.
And Toronto played last night.
Yeah.
Right? But a couple of good games. I mean, that Denver Golden State game is really good. Thunder at Houston, in theory, should be a good game. The Rockets, after all, are currently the 2 seed in the Western Conference. Good litmus test for them here in that game tonight. But the problem with that is OKC has been on a rampage, and they're taking everybody out and putting them in a body bag at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't be surprised that number moved from 5.5 to 6.5 for a second. And our buddy Chris Massero thinks Boston absolutely takes care of the Suns tonight. Big.
Yeah, well, no problem in the last game, too. But just you mentioned how big that loss was. Denver, 30 losses. Lakers, 30 losses. Golden State, 31. Memphis, Clippers, Minnesota, 32 losses. With 9 days left in the regular season.
Yep. Longtime college hoops handicapper and bettor Bruce Marshall on the program coming up next. His best bets for the Final Four and for the Crown Championship coming up.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
O'Neal Cruz with another stolen base for the Pirates. What is that, 7 on the year? They trailed the Yankees 4-1 right now in the fourth. He was around highest I'm seeing right now, plus 325 to get a stolen base today.
And the Red Sox got a double play to end it.
Yeah, but they took a run off the board.
Oh, they did?
I mean, unless my app's wrong. It showed 13-9 when we were talking about it. My one app just said 13-8. So anyway, we head out here to the progressive guest line. Longtime college basketball handicapper and bettor Bruce Marshall joins the program now. Brucey, good to talk to you as always. How you been?
Pretty good. That was quite an NIT final last night, boys. Like I was telling you off air there, it reminded me of 1973 when Virginia Tech beat Notre Dame in the final, but the same sort of run through the tournament that Chattanooga did. They were an underdog the whole way. Nobody expected them to win. And that was back when the NIT was really loaded in 73. And they beat Notre Dame in the final. A little guy named Bobby Stevens had a long shot right at the buzzer at overtime to win by 1. Alan Bristow played in the NBA for several years, star of that team. Don DeVoe, very young coach. He's only like 32, 33 then. But same thing with Chattanooga last night. I thought that was compelling stuff all the way through with Chattanooga. And that final last night was gripping against Irvine. Really enjoyed it. Very good game. Do you remember the point spread back in 1973, Brucey? That I don't.
Oh, we got you.
Notre Dame is... Well, I was in the 9th grade, so...
it might be in one of your binders hidden somewhere.
Well, it might. Notre Dame, I think, probably would have been favored. That was Digger Phelps' second year at Notre Dame, and they that was like Digger's real coming out because he had a bad year his first year, the year before. John Shoemate, one of the stars, just passed away. One of the guys on that Notre Dame team, but no, that was a that's what Chattanooga reminded me of. They won an underdog every game in this NIT, which is quite something.
You had that at the Gold Sheet, right? Didn't you have all the odds going back in the mid-70s and on, and what all the point spreads were?
I did. Football we did, and basketball, yes, although it was basketball more like mid-70s, a little bit harder to find before then. Huh. And it wasn't, I mean, basketball lines weren't as easy to get as football lines back in those days either. But we used, I mean, Paul Olsen had stuff back to 1950 on the football side. So,
wow.
Yeah, we had a lot of old stuff. Yep.
That's awesome. So you made the case for USC to win the Crown at a big number, and they almost beat Nova. They were catching a lot of points and lost by 1. Any thoughts on Central Florida off the upset win against Villanova, and Nova playing hard for Nardi, waiting for Willard to come in? Nova 2 up to 3.
Yeah, I think Nova should win. I was a little disappointed that game wasn't higher scoring against SC last night. They got over in the first one against Colorado. It just turned into sort of a grinder last night. And SC did have a couple guys out. But with Dixon, who is sort of a man amongst boys here, and Wooga Poplar, who's been around, these are veteran guys ending their career, and they are playing hard for Nardi. I think I'll tell you, Johnny Dawkins is actually maybe helping. I don't know how safe his job was at UCF, but this might be helping save it. He's got his best player, Keyshawn Hall, has already transferred out to Auburn, but he's got a couple other guys in the portal that he's been playing, and they've been higher scoring games. So maybe they can chase this thing and get it above 156. But I would rather. I think Villanova looks to me like the team to back in this one at least, and maybe not to win the whole thing, but tomorrow, yeah, I think I'd do Villanova.
How about the first one, Boise and Nebraska? Boise 2.
Boise's going to win this tournament, I think. Mm-hmm. They got it, and maybe an over here. That got a little bit crazy against Butler yesterday, but I like everything about Boise here now, the way they're doing. They probably should have been in the big dance, just the way things broke at the end. They were better than San Diego State at the end of the year. But a lot of experience on this side. Degenhardt has been there, 10 years. Meadows, a playmaker. I love Cardenas, the guard, in from San Jose. Leon Rice, one of my favorite coaches. You go to one of these media days, you talk to him, you can't help but like him. Nebraska, how did that game not get over against Georgetown the other night? I mean, it was sitting right there in the last 3-4 minutes and couldn't quite get there. I have not been as impressed by Nebraska in this tournament, even though Bryce Williams is a great player. More good players on the Boise side. I think they're totally focused on this thing. And I'm Boise here. I think Boise wins tomorrow. And I think Boise wins Sunday, probably against Villanova in the final.
I'm with you. Sounds good. Okay, so there's a 4.5 now at DraftKings. This is the best offensive team at Houston that Sampson's had. Number 1 defense in the country, although there could be an all-time Duke team. So good on top 5 offense and defense. No one's been able to slow them down offensively. What do you think of the second semifinal if Houston can keep it low scoring and make it ugly and physical against Duke?
Well, if they can, they got a chance. I mean, I sort of hope they do. I really want Houston to win. I mean, I just, I don't really like Duke. I don't dislike Shire. Shire's a very hard guy to dislike. But I just, Duke I dislike. But when I look at this thing, Houston's been here in the Final Four 6 times. Elvin Hayes, I remember Elvin Hayes' games there in the late 60s, and then the Olajuwon and Drexler, and they went 3 straight in the early 80s. They didn't do it. And then Kelvin went there a few years ago, couldn't do it. Is this compared to some of those other Houston teams that didn't win? I don't know that this team is that good. Not that that matters as much. You're just playing against who you're playing against now. So what's Duke? What are they going to do against Duke? If the scenario goes like you say, Houston would have a chance. And we saw Tennessee completely freeze against them last week, and they just started settling for threes. If you try to play through this defense, the way Tennessee tried to, and the pressure they put on the perimeter, Sampson's guards, and try to play through them, that ain't going to work. What you got to do is play over them. And Duke is well equipped to do that. I hate to say that, but they've got so much length out on the floor. And I think they've got enough physicality there with Sion Brown, Proctor, and then Gillis coming off the bench. And even those freshmen kind of bang around a bit. besides Flag, I mean, Knuppel and Malowich might be lottery picks too.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just Flag. And I just think fundamentally they are built to take care of Houston, and reluctantly, I would recommend Duke in that game. Maybe an over too. I know Houston's games haven't been that high scoring, but Duke's got so many ways they can hit you. And I think Houston's going to probably be chasing this game, so the scoreline might go up. So I could see this getting into the low 140s, so I'd go over.
All right, very good. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Longtime college basketball handicapper and bettor Bruce Marshall here with us on the Progressive Guest Line. Earlier in the week, you were super strong on Florida. We all really didn't know the status of Janai Broome for Auburn, although he did tell the media, I think yesterday, that he's like, look, I'm going to be 100%. If you're buying that on his status for this game, Bruce, are you as strong as Florida, or you come off it a little bit here because of it?
No, I'm still strong on it, although, we'll see Broome. I know he said that, but we'll see how he plays tomorrow. I mean, he couldn't even lift that arm up when he came in last week. 6 days to heal, maybe it is bad. And he was at practice today, and he didn't look all that bad, but we'll see how that is in the game. But remember, boys, I mean, Broome was there the first time they played. He was fine. And Florida took care of them handily. And this is in early February. And this is when Florida, I really became like, wow, I got to watch this team here. I didn't think they'd go in to Auburn and do what they did. Auburn was flying as high as it was all year. They had won 14 in a row. They ranked 1. And Florida, once they took control of that game near the end of the first half, Auburn never made a run at them in the second half. They handled them. And because I think they have the length and I think they have the depth to deal with the stuff that Auburn likes to do, Clayton looked like Steph Curry down the stretch last week. And I actually loved that about a team that looked into the abyss the way those guys did and pulled themselves out last week. I mean, that is something special character-wise that I wasn't sure this team had. Now I'm sure they have it. And I don't know at Auburn – the last month, I think they peaked earlier this year.
I see. Yes.
And they didn't.
Yes.
Yeah, they didn't. They did not close the regular season that good. And I don't even know in the dance, Alabama State was a really sluggish game. Creighton game was closer than the score indicated. And I think they could have lost both those games last weekend. I know they had a big lead on Michigan State, but they labored. They labored after that. Michigan State just could have made a few more shots, and they had plenty of looks even at the rim. Just couldn't get it in. I thought they were ripe for the taking, and certainly Michigan could have had Auburn. They had them down 9 midway in the second half, and something happened there. I think Florida gets them. I think we're getting Florida Duke Monday night.
Very good. Brucey, you're the best. Love talking to you. Thanks for all the time this last month and a half. We appreciate it as always. Let's break bread sometime soon.
Okay, kids. Thanks.
You're the man. He is the man. 1973 NIT. So Duke down to 4.5 at DraftKings, and those numbers are up. They're 4.5 against Florida. They're 5.5 against Auburn. Florida's 1.5 against Houston, and Houston's 1 against Auburn.
Well, I mean,
it also depends what happens, how it looks, though.
What if Houston beats Duke by 10? I think under zero circumstance, either of those other teams could be favored in the national title game.
Yeah.
Right? They'd be
Houston's
favored.
Got to be favored, yeah.
Yeah, if they win this game and they're impressive, they have to be.
Yeah.
Up next, a prominent college basketball figure said the sport might be dead sooner than you might think. Hear what he had to say next here on Follow the Money.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Welcome back. It is Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Coming up top of the hour, former college basketball coach Lon Kruger is going to join us in studio. The Crown Championship is in Las Vegas. We'll talk Final Four with him. Also in the final hour, Jim Jackson. He was a college basketball great at Ohio State. He's dynamite on the broadcast for Fox. He's going to be on the program as well. What do you think of the current state of college basketball?
I'm concerned. I think Cinderella could be shut out. I think anytime there's a good player at a small school and the coach, which we've seen, bam, gone, and the player's only going to stay for 1 year.
Yeah, on top of that, the fewer bids that they get.
That too.
Right? the chances of them making deep runs and being Cinderella in March, it might go bye-bye.
Mm-hmm. We had St. Mary's get one, but that was, the Mountain West. You had Dent, Player of the Year, leaves for UCLA. Patino leaves, takes I think it was the Xavier job.
Xavier job, yeah.
Right, and the couple kids already transferred out San Diego State. So, and then you saw the San Diego coach left and took the New Mexico job. That stuff happens all the time with the coaches, but I'm concerned about, can you keep the team together for a couple years with the mid-majors? And they proved it with Drake in San Diego.
That's right.
Even you win 30 games, you're not going to get an at-large bid if you stub your toe in the conference tournament.
So the idea of one of those programs turning into Gonzaga seems like it's more unlikelier than ever, right?
I think it's a fluke of all flukes, they did.
You're not the only one. This is Jim Nantz, who called, 30 Final Fours probably for CBS. Dynamite broadcaster. He's going to be at the Final Four this weekend because he's a Houston alum. He loves the program. He also is very concerned about the state of college basketball. Here was part of his appearance on the Dan Patrick Show this week.
But my concern on your question is future of college basketball.
Yeah.
That may not live as we know it another 500 years. It may not live another 15 years because the portal and the NIL, it's difficult. I don't want to paint it doom and gloom. I don't want to say it's about to be extinct. It's not going to be. But what we knew it as, what we grew up with, that model doesn't exist anymore. And some people have a real problem with that. I want to put a pitch in here from my school here. The University of Houston, as we go into this weekend, we represent college basketball the way we used to know it better than anybody maybe in America. Our guys stay.
Yeah, he's spot on. And where's that going to happen again? Because at the elite programs, they're just going to get the best of whoever they want, and those guys are going to be pro prospects, and either they're going to be one and done, or they're going to be transfers to come in, and they're going to be good enough to go pro.
That was his criticism years ago of Kentucky, that he said was Calipari, was all hired guns and mercenaries.
Right.
And now that's what you're going to have with all these programs, where you're talking to the fan base and the boosters. Hey guys, it's a brand new team every year. Let's meet these guys, and they're probably going to be gone next year too. And I like your rule, what you said earlier. One transfer, I'll let you transfer once or twice. If your coach leaves, you can transfer again.
There you go.
But you can't treat it like free agency, where I'm going to go there, I'm going to leave here, I'm going to go this, right?
I know.
Well, maybe you get one time to transfer unless your coach leaves.
Like what's going? Yeah.
So the model is dead. He's right.
Storr, who was at Wisconsin 2 years ago, in AJ Storr, he was really good. He was at St. John's before that. Then he transferred to Kansas this year. Didn't do well. He's going to transfer again? Like, is this all a big April Fool's joke with all the stuff coming out? Guys are going to be on their third, fourth teams?
Yeah. Well, how about the girl? She turned down, she's going to be the second pick in the draft?
Because there's more money in NIL than the WNBA draft?
How about that?
I don't blame her.
Wow, that was something.
And that's what I said to you, earlier this week or last week.
Ewers and you think, you threw it out with someone else, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
I came back with the Ohio State wide receiver, or a star that wasn't eligible yet, and maybe sticking it to my rival or whatever money talks. And we saw what Michigan is paying that quarterback. But that's certainly out there as well, where, I'm not going to go early first round, or I'll just stay in college another year and get paid at a Texas or whatever it may be.
Yeah, who would be like the Phil Knight of college basketball, right? Where they have endless funds, and what they want to see before they die is a title in college hoops.
Well, it could be a lot of people.
So a guy like that could offer Cooper Flagg $20 million next year. Like I said,
the Arkansas guy's Tyson Foods, right?
That's right. Yeah.
How he got they're friends. That's how he got Calipari.
And they said, I think Calipari at the press conference last year said, we're going to need like $5 million in NIL. $5 million. You could do $20 million if you want. You do 25. It's like the SMU football thing again. Well, how much do you need? Not even affected by losing, $80 million over 7 to 8 years because of no TV rights?
They turned down the TV for 9 years.
That's crazy,
$200 million. I'm not losing sleep over it.
Yeah.
Was the line from the chancellor or president or whatever it was. Hilarious.
Man, I really hope that.
What do you think?
And things are changing.
He's making sense. I'm not now. He was right at the end. It's not going away, but he's
right.
The current model, right? The model that we know and the sport we grew up with, I really think it hurts Cinderella.
Probably long gone. And it's never going to come back. It's never going to be like it was years ago. And if that's going to impact how many underdogs are actually going to get invited to the tournament, which means the fewer teams who play that role that we get in, then that probably means the fewer wins we're going to get. That's not good for anybody.
Yeah, but I told the High Point story. When you watch the High Point Purdue game, they called everyone across the country. Only Purdue and one other school got back to them. And Purdue got back to them because Painter's friends with their coach.
Yeah.
And they still couldn't get the game to happen and figure it out.
I'll tell you a story here of just like what it meant. You know, we're both in our late 40s. So when we were growing up with teams like that, late 80s, early 90s, college basketball was the absolute nuts. I thought it was the best sport on the planet. And I grew up because I had two older brothers and my dad, and they all love college basketball. I've told you like this month on the show, like how special it was for me. My dad would come out here all the time, and they would like stay with us, and we'd watch March Madness together every single year. That was the one sporting event that he wanted to watch out here in Las Vegas with me every single year. And it was awesome going back several years. It's coming up at the end of this year. My dad passed away 5 years ago, and it was at the beginning of COVID, but it wasn't because of COVID. But because of that, we could not have a funeral, and my mom was not allowed to have like a get together or a celebration of life for him because the entire world was shut down. So, and college basketball was also canceled. But my dad grew up, he loved the little guy. And as a result of that, I loved the little guy. And so did my two older brothers. So no tournament that year after he passed away. And one of the last things that he said to me out here in Las Vegas before he went back to Wisconsin and eventually passed away was, God, just don't cancel March Madness. That's it. Because he loved it more than any other sporting event. So fast forward to 2021, my mom can finally plan a celebration of life for my dad. Like the restrictions are up, you can rent a park, the weather in Wisconsin's finally nice, and it's going to be like a get together of like 200 people, right? Well, this is a year after that, so it's the end of April. What happened earlier that month? Gonzaga played Baylor in the national title game. I've never told this story to anybody before. And so when Gonzaga played North Carolina for the national title game, I watched that game with my dad together. And we were devastated when the little guy never won. We were both rooting for Gonzaga. Mm-hmm. Well, if my dad had been around in 2021 when Jalen Suggs hit that three and banked it in against UCLA to go eventually play in the national title game, that would have been one of the highlights of his life. But he passed away. Gonzaga lost. So the year celebration of life is coming up. I walked over to the cemetery on my own, and I sat there at his grave, and I'm talking to him, and I had the YouTube clip pulled up of Jim Nantz, and I was never emotional until my dad died. Huh? I played the clip over and over and over again of Jalen Suggs hitting that three and beating UCLA, and I bawled my eyes out for like 20 minutes because of how cool that would have been. And I knew that was going to be tough for me to tell. And I was never emotional before my dad died. After that, I was crying at commercials for like 2 months. I'm like, Mitch, snap out of it. What the hell's wrong with you?
Great story. Can you imagine that story? Can you imagine if Hayward hits the shot for Butler?
Oh, my God.
You can't top that finish in any sport ever because they're just going to take the trophy and walk it right back to campus, and Butler then beats Duke, which is an all-timer.
Sure. I think that's the best finish probably in the history of sports.
Yeah.
If that goes in. And it was so close. But that's what college basketball was, and forget about it. It's not even going to be close to anything like that before. Again, it was mid-2000s when they had 11 mid-majors in, and a bunch of them made the Sweet 16. And now we're getting one, and St. Mary's is not even a mid-major. That's pretty weak.
Remember, Drake and San Diego weren't getting in.
Yeah, that's right.
Wins. So they're telling you how things have changed. You're right. You can't get the games, and we don't want you in as at large. And it's just going to dwindle. Now, will this continue? Right. I don't know. I think it will. A 13, 14, 15, 16 didn't win a game. We've had 14 straight favorites win. We had it's 32-2 straight up, favorites of 6+. It's 62-3 straight up combined if you count the ACC, SEC, Big 12, Big 10, and Big East tournaments.
Sure. So
I don't know. Is it an outlier and a fluke? Or you come back with the St. Peter's and what happened a couple of years ago? But I think the sport has completely changed.
And then what happens if Duke beats Florida? That means 17 straight favorites win?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Former college basketball great, the coach, Lon Kruger, on the program coming up next. We'll have him dissect what Houston could do against Duke in their big game tomorrow.